My name's Chuck Sullivan. I've never gone by a rank. I've always just been Chuck. That started at about my year 2 here at the Foley Police Department. I came out of the military police corps and was very regimented in the way I conducted my traffic stops, right? I'm also Sullivan, the police department. And I came back and my training officer, a good friend of mine, said, "Do you think they didn't know you were the police?" So at that moment, that day, I remember, I've always approached every traffic stop, every interaction with, "Hey, I'm Chuck." And you would not believe how much that just calms everything down. So for that reason, hey everybody, I'm Chuck. Okay. So as you mentioned, I have been with the Foley Police Department for a long time. Probably more than half at this point, I've been involved with Homeland Security investigations in some way as a task force officer. As she mentioned, one of the things that we do both at the police department and on the task force is try to work against human trafficking. It's one of the many things we try to do. One of the things that I wrote down while Ms. Potter was speaking, because we're coming from 2 different areas of this, I wanted to make sure we didn't really be redundant and cover a lot of the same stuff, is what does human trafficking look like, right? Is there a movie that comes to mind immediately when you think of human trafficking? Say it again? Sound of Freedom. Is there an action movie that comes to mind? Probably 3 of them. Taken. Y'all remember that one? Sound of Freedom was an excellent movie. It was more of a biopic documentary. It was exaggerated a little bit about that person's life and the things he did. I have worked with people who work with like Children's Rescue Initiative. I know there's people who go off into the fields and rescue people, and that is amazing work. It's not for old guys, it's for the young people. They can have it. I don't see myself running off into a field in Cambodia anytime soon to rescue anyone. I would probably just hurt myself as soon as I got out of the truck. So, call to rescue. But Taken is the one. Someone's just snatched at the airport, or someone's snatched off out of a car, and now they're gone. You never see them again. They're being trafficked all across the world, right? How many cases of Taken-style human trafficking have there been in Baldwin County that have been reported? 0. What's the key to that? That have been reported. Have young men and young women been taken from Baldwin County and being sold for sex across the nation and the world? Yes. Who do you think they are? Runaways. Missing. Right? They left home. They were mad at mom. They were mad at dad. They got mad about something. They left, had no idea what they were getting themselves into. The next thing you know, they're gone. Rena Reyes has been missing since 2018. The last thing we knew about her was that maybe she went to Florida. My fear, of course, is that she's dead. Okay, that's my greatest fear. My second greatest fear is that she's locked in a cage somewhere and has no idea how to get home, or even who she is anymore. Okay? So the sensationalized version of human trafficking, which does happen, thankfully, it does not happen here, or it's not being reported as happening here. But what is happening here is missing and runaways. A lot of times in the upper stages of juvenile, you're talking about the 16, 17, 18-year-olds. It does happen at younger ages. What's happening more predominantly than that is grossly underreported, is illegal immigration population having trafficking involved in their society, and it's completely underreported. So have large pockets of illegal immigrants. Oh, sorry, we're supposed to say illegal aliens now. Changes depending on who the U.S. attorney is. Undocumented, what was it? Undocumented. It's changed so many times. Right now we're allowed to say illegal aliens. It changes. But trafficking occurs in those communities a lot. A lot of it is familial, as Ms. Potter mentioned, to where a to where a family simply lets their son or daughter go and there's some exchange in some way. It's very hard to integrate, it's very hard to get into because it's not reported. Crime among illegal alien populations is severely unreported because they're scared of deportation, even as immigrants. And we understand that. We work with our communities as much as we can to get them to report, make them feel safe in reporting. But that's a huge uphill battle and has been for the 25 years ago. The top prosecuted in Baldwin County is prostitution-related human trafficking. Okay? It's the most popular, it's the most prosecuted because, honestly, it's the easiest to catch. As she mentioned, sting operations where undercover police officers set up in a hotel room, court a prostitute in, and then we turn around and use that prostitute to find out the whole chain, who's involved, get other prostitutes to come in. And then we flip, as you mentioned, we flip and we start going after what we call the Johns. We start going after the people who are buying the sex. And that's when you see, and there they are on the background, that's when the media is going to show up. 7 arrested in Baldwin County in human trafficking operation, right? I think we've seen that headline twice this year. 6 or 7, 8 people related in human trafficking operations. Those are prostitution-related stings. It's the easiest to identify. The information is out there online. Like she said, find someone who knows how to access those sites, and it's all over the place. The problem that we have with that is the normally ladies actually identifying them as human trafficking victims. Human trafficking is defined in the simplest terms as the trade of humans for the purpose of forced labor, sexual slavery, commercial sexual exploitation for the benefit of the trafficker. Who's the trafficker? In a prostitution situation, who's the trafficker? The pimp. Who could the pimp be? Is it the man in the pimp suit around the corner? Not anymore. It's not. The pimp, a lot of times, is a prior prostitute who's grown up and is now managing women all throughout the area. Up another female, a madam, or there's a word that I'm not going to use in a church setting that we do call, but that's typical what we're looking for. Hard to get to. And the reason is that traffickers have to use one of 3 things: force, fraud, or coercion. It has to be one of those things. If we can't identify force, fraud, or coercion, we don't have trafficking. We have prostitution. So who ends up going to jail? A prostitute. Who wants to identify as a victim behind bars? Not most people. Not most people. Does that mean to Ms. Potter's point, do we let them go? No. At that point, we have to start engaging in services for them. Identifying non-governmental organizations, NGOs such as the Well House, getting in line with victim service advocates for Homeland Security of the Baldwin County District Attorney's Office to see if we can have that person identify as a victim of human sex trafficking and then continue to assist us in prosecution of whether it be the Johns or the pimps or the gang organization. But here's the thing. Ladies in the room, I'm going to ask a very vulgar question, and I have to ask it. Is there a lady in this room who wants to have sex 40 times a day? I apologize for asking such a vulgar question. It's a fair question, right? Does anyone want that? No. Why is it okay to do it and not say I'm a victim? What's the number one thing that is probably used to coerce women into having sex 40 times a day? Drugs. Drugs is the first, fear is the second. And a lot of times, fear of not getting the first. Right? The addiction levels are through the roof. Ms. Potter, am I wrong?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And please, hit yourself back in the head. Right. Please, it is just the way it is. There's not a lot of ways to sugarcoat what is going on. The drugs are prevalent. The drugs are being provided by the organization or by the person. If I stop, what am I going to go through? Would I rather go through 8, 9, 10 weeks of pure health, through detox, through this, and have been questioned and poked and prodded or whatever, or could I just get high and have sex 20 times a day? Right? You can't think about that in your mindset right now. You have to put yourself in the mindset of someone who is basically doped out 90% of the time, 90% of their day. So it's a very hard thing on the law enforcement side. Believe it or not, organizations like the Whale Dogs see more identified victims than law. And I'm glad they're going to the Whale Dogs. I'm glad they're receiving the treatment and the care and the love that they're receiving. Man, I wish they would come on over and talk to us and tell us who did this to them. And I think you've realized through a couple of press releases just recently, we don't care who you are. When I go back all the way back to, this was probably 2017, there were a lot of billboards that came down after one of our sting operations. A lot of billboards. It was election season. Okay? It is what it is. If you show up to buy a prostitute, you're going to jail. So, to your point, right, which was, how do we get in front of the people who are trafficking, not the trafficked? How do we stop the traffickers, right? The problem with that is the population of people who are there to be trafficked. Any guys or girls in the room? Anybody hunt, fish? Do you go to an empty pond to fish? No, you don't. So what we have to do is we have to empty the pond. And the only way that we can empty the pond so that the traffickers, the fishers don't come there anymore, is by going for the at-risk communities and working with the at-risk communities. We can't. I'm going to say, Pastor, I'm probably wrong. Will evil ever not exist until that day? It will always be prevalent. It will always be here. We're never going to say you don't. Thank you. That's right. You're never going to stop the traffickers because evil will always hit us. There will always be someone out there wanting to exploit someone else. Okay? Prostitution is called what? The oldest profession for a reason. It's been around forever. Then someone said, how can I exploit it? And it became trafficking. Okay? So, to look at that, what is it that, how can we empty the pond? Right? How can we empty the pond? The top 5 vulnerabilities, the top 5 things that make someone vulnerable, specifically for the state of Alabama, and this is based off the study that Ms. Potter mentioned. First, homelessness, unstable housing, runaway youth. How much money is this nation and this state spending on things that have nothing to do with homelessness versus homelessness? It is through the roof. We care so much about how we look on all these other fronts, right? But we will not address homelessness. Have you driven down to the center of Foley and not seen somebody riding on Rhodes Trail who you absolutely know slept on Rhodes Trail last night? Yes. Every day. Out Foley, we recently enacted a camping ordinance that was intended to assist in homelessness and bring people in who we do end up having to arrest them, but we arrest them and then in front of the judge we give them all kinds of resource packets. Hey, look, we're gonna put you on a probated status. We're gonna probate the sentence, right? We don't want you to camp inside of the city of Foley, be homeless inside of the city of Foley. This is everything we have for you so that you don't have to, right? And that's the whole purpose of that ordinance, is to bring people in, make sure that they have all the resources they need to try to get off their feet, become, to at least find a house, find somewhere stable to live. Unstable housing, we mentioned that, runaway youth. I've already told you that's what's the. There's so much trafficking involved in simple runaways. They did not leave the house intending to be victims of being trafficked. They were mad, they were angry, they were upset. Raise your hand if you ever run away. Ever run away? How far did you go? Oh, I just went to Grandma's house. I'm leaving. I'm going to Grandma's house, okay? God, it was a long walk. She let me do it. That's when that was in the 80s and 90s. You couldn't walk to Grandma's house. Living below the poverty line. That's a big indicator. That's a big risk factor for human trafficking. We are doing better in Baldwin County. This is Alabama. This is statewide. We're doing better in Baldwin County than a lot of counties are, as far as just general poverty, general. So that's not as big an indicator here. If you're living in an area, if you're living in an Alabama and you're not from this state, that puts you at risk. Why is that? Lack of social structure. Right. You're new, you don't know people, you get to know the wrong people, you're diving into the wrong crowds, your family's not around you to go, hey, that's a bad guy, that's a bad girl. So that puts you at risk. Limited English proficiency. Big risk factor. Okay, if you can't speak English, you have to rely on other people to help you. And what do other people who can help you also do? Exploit you. Something as simple as I can't get a driver's license because I don't have a passport. Well, I can get you a passport. But you're going to have to do this one small thing for me first, right? It could be nothing more than take this check to the cash checking center and then go send it to my family and wherever, right? That's the first thing. Well, hey, you did that thing now. I got you. I'm just going to report you to ICE if you don't do this. Then it's one more thing, it's one more thing, it's one more thing. And now we're selling drugs for you, you're being trafficked. And that's how it starts. One little small thing. And it all started because I can't speak English. But you can and you can help. Regrettably, you know who does that more? Same culture. Someone along the same culture who has, now I speak English, now I know how to play these games. It doesn't cross races too much, cross cultures too much. It does stay a lot within the same culture. What I've seen, what we've seen. And then, as you said, any engagement in the foster care system skyrockets your risk. You can all imagine why. We've all heard the horror stories of foster care. If you think you're going to run away from home, you're definitely going to run away from home in most cases. For Baldwin County, one of the things that I also do is I'm the sex offender registration notification guy. So all the sex offenders in Baldwin County in Foley report to me, which means I have to know the location of all the daycares, all the foster homes. We only have 5, I believe, if anyone's here from DHR, correct me. I think we only have 5 foster families in Foley, and I know them all personally. We don't have a foster problem in Foley. We have very good foster families. Can't speak for the rest of the county because I'm not them. Reasons victims are exploited, we talked about socioeconomic status. They're brought here legally, they owe a smuggling fee, they owe something to someone. This is a lot of the same. Drug exchange, familial pimping. We're going to talk about that in just a second. She may have different data. This is more about what I know personally. Gang-related human trafficking, sex trafficking, is not very prevalent in our area. The reason for that is mainly because gangs don't stick in Baldwin County. period. They try. And that's outlaw motorcycle gangs, urban gangs, street gangs, all that they try. Like, we'll get a bulletin that says, hey, MS-13 is trying to infiltrate Baldwin County. We handle it, and they go away. The outlaw motorcycle gang tried to set up a house in Foley about a decade ago. Yeah, that lasted 30 days. We're not going to have that. Okay? Street gangs, their names change so often we can't keep up. It used to be the Aaronville Posse, Mills Boy, and Beulah Heights Posse, right? And now it's the Backstreet Gang and GHD. It changes so often because they can't stay congealed long enough to actually matter, and that's because we will break you apart. We'll make you tell on each other, and we will make your gang go away. And that's what we love to do. We love to break them up. I feel, of course, if we were to allow any gang to take true hold in Baldwin County, there is one. I want to apologize in case someone corrects me on this. There is one motorcycle gang who does have a clubhouse. The Banditos in North Baldwin County, they do have a clubhouse. We're aware of that, and certain people are worried about that more than I have to be. So I'm going to let them worry about that. They don't come down here. You see them driving down through just to get to the beach every once. One of the things that I wrote down also. What gets the most press coverage? On sex trafficking or human trafficking. What gets the most press coverage? So the prostitution stings is second, right? Prostitution stings, it'll pop up on Facebook, it'll pop up, they'll run it for about a day, right? Most of the clicks and likes that you see on social media for prostitution sting related human trafficking cases are people trying to figure out who the guys are. They'll put their picture up and like, I think I know that guy, all right? 2 years worth of press coverage on the mom who stole her daughter to 5 Hispanics in Florida. 2 years worth of press coverage, right? So that's the other thing. If one thing is so prevalent, and this has happened once, why is this 2 years worth of press coverage, but we're getting nothing on the other? Number one, human trafficking, not human sex trafficking, human trafficking event in Baldwin County is human labor trafficking, not sex trafficking. Period, the end. Go to any restaurant in Baldwin County. Okay? Not any. Someone's going to call me out. Many of the restaurants, many of the tourist industry businesses in Baldwin County are employing illegal workforce. Okay? People who fold your sheets at the condos, the people who make your food in the back of the restaurants, many of them are here illegally. Again, that is a population that is hard to identify as a trafficking victim. The reason is, many of them came here legally. They came here on a 90-day visa, 6-month visa, 1-year visa, and they simply stayed here longer than they should. And now someone is holding that over their head and paying them wages that are subpar and piling them into apartment buildings 15, 20 deep. Okay? So again, it's hard for that population to identify as a victim of trafficking when that is 1,000 times better than the other option, which is going home. Right? Does it make it right? No, it does not make it right. Does it make it right in their mind? Yes. They're willing to sleep 20 hours and work for subpar wages, right? And be demeaned and be tread upon. 1,000 times better than them. So it is the number one thing that's happening in Baldwin County is human labor trafficking. Keep in mind, smuggling is different than trafficking. Smuggling is simply moving a thing from one place to the other without exploiting that thing, right? If you smuggle 15 Hondurans into the country, you did not traffic them until you exploit them. Once you exploit them in some way through forced coercion, right, then they become trafficked. So that's a big thing. So keep that in mind. Just because, I'm not going to say the name of the organization, just because you see a bus going down and you know that that's the bus that goes every day to that restaurant on the beach, that doesn't mean that they're engaging in human trafficking every time they move people from A to B. Okay? They have to be exploited in some way. So that's the key. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Probably did. I do want to say on the runaways, there is work being done in that area. There are organizations who work with Homeland Security investigations and local and state law enforcement, like Children's Rescue Initiative called Rescue, and you mentioned there was a third. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a rescue type organization. These are the people who are running off into the fields in Cambodia.
Covenant Rescue.
Covenant Rescue. But they also work alongside federal agencies at large events, right? They go out and try to identify trafficking victims through social media, through web pages, through this, through that, through facial recognition, all the cool gadgets. They're out there in vans that you don't know. They're on top of buildings that you can't see. And at almost every event, including our large event that happens down on the beach, it's not happening this year, right? Dozens of trafficking victims are rescued. If I say dozens, a vast majority fall into one category. Runaways. They are rescuing runaways. Now, they don't wait for the bad thing to happen. If they see Jane Doe, if they see Sally walking down the street, and she's popped as a mystic runaway, that's the end of it. Call the local law enforcement, pick her up, run away, get them back home. So we don't wait for them to be engaged in some illicit behavior before they're rescued. But that happens at every major. These are the same groups that are working the Super Bowl, all the major events all across the country. So that does happen, even in our little sleepy go shores town, where we go down and we rescue runaway victims who could potentially be trafficked. Could be that they just run away from home to go to hang out. But are they vulnerable? Yeah. So let's get ahead. The I-20 corridor in the state of Alabama is known as the human trafficking highway. Well, what do we have just below it? I-10 corridor. Okay. We have had to my memory, two human trafficking rescues on I-10 of the truck stops, where someone happened to notice both of them were young ladies in the back cab. It just didn't fit, right? The trucker went in, they saw the young lady in the back of the cab, it just didn't fit. So someone called, and both of those young ladies were identified as victims of human trafficking. Both of them were, guess what? Okay? One more key element as to why things are going unreported is capping the budget for the government organizations who should be trained on identifying potentially human trafficking victims. The number one agency in the state of Alabama, Baldwin County, is the HR. The HR is grossly understaffed, grossly underfunded. Okay? Our at-risk youth go to the HR, places like the care house, places like the crisis center, even in juvenile detention. And when Joanna, what did you do for a living, if you don't mind? What do you do?
Well, I'm retired, but that's not cooking.
Occupational therapist. Locally?
Yeah.
Locally? How good of an occupational therapist could you be if you changed schools every year and did not get to know the students that you hired? Probably wouldn't get hired. Okay? Social work takes years and years and years to get accreditation for you, and then you go into a field where you can barely pay your rent. So if by chance you're looking for something to talk to your representatives about, right, that would be an excellent thing. That we have money. The state of Alabama is not broke. Okay? If there was something that if I could wave my magic wand and on it would be our social work components, our Department of Mental Health. I would ask them to stop wasting money and start spending money the right way. Okay? And our Department of Human Resources. Underreported, I've known so many very, very well-intentioned social workers with the Department of Human Resources. They want to get involved. They're talking to me, or they're talking to people about a certain child, and then they're gone. They've moved off to something else, and we lose all that traction. So, I've also been on the ramble and make sure that I try to do this to make sure I try to stay on track. I've covered a lot. As Ms. Potter said, we are more than welcome to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, ma'am.
Just if you could give some advice. What should someone do if someone gives them the symptom?
Yep. See something, say something is the thing. If you want to go, it's still the Blue Campaign.
It's still there.
You could 911 has been around forever and is still very high. The Department of Homeland Security still has a Blue Campaign. There's a 1-800 number. I apologize, I don't have it right off the top of my head. But first, 911. Then try as you can to report it to the Blue Campaign. They take tips constantly. I've seen that tip line work so fast. I was amazed. The call came in. I think I was 8 minutes after the tip was submitted to the Blue Campaign, and that was one of the ones on IT.
But if this is a well-known symbol, for somebody who, right? This practice. But should they intervene themselves at that moment?
Extremely dangerous. Thank you. I apologize. That's where you're coming in. No, unless it is absolutely, you just can't help it. I know what I would do, but I mean, I'm a little different. There's not a lot of times that I'm not doing something with a radio or a gun somewhere. But even me on intervening, I would not, first thing I'm doing is call the person. I'm not, unless someone is being physically harmed in front of me, I'm not going to intervene without making a phone call first. After someone knows what I look like, off duty, hey, this is Chuck, I'm Foley. I don't care where I'm at across the nation. This is Chuck Sullivan, I'm the Foley Police Department. I'm wearing a blue shirt, khakis, ugly shoes, I'm bald, don't shoot me, I'm about to head over here because of that thing's happening.
You need to identify yourself in some way.
Say it again.
So like say if I was reporting, I need to let them know the line so I don't get mistaken for.
That's right. And what they're going to ask you to do is be professional. Just be the best for the rest you can. Okay? If you make a phone call immediately, then they're going to stay on the line with you. Right? They're going to start asking you all the great questions. What does she look like? What does he look like? Are they driving? Are they all where precisely? Or you be the best witness you can possibly